And I thought it was a flat delivery from Josh Frydenberg, Ashley, and lucky to finish it, to be honest. And I know, as you do as a broadcaster, sometimes the throat can be a fickle thing, but he had a cough and was struggling to even get through it about halfway through that speech. But even beyond the presentation, I think it was pretty flat. It was basically a shopping list of bad numbers. Numbers that Jim Chalmers is right, we already knew. My understanding is, rumours around Treasury, basically, that they haven't even started looking at the deficit number, which is really, I think, when the government wants to build consensus around reform and the budget, this is the main game. They've got to say to people, this is the bottom line, this is how the deficit's looking. They had hoped to deliver the first surplus in a decade. Well, we're heading towards most likely the worst deficit in the nation's history, and I think today is what many people might have thought, well, we might get to see what is that bottom line, what is that deficit going to be. But we'll have to wait a few more months, possibly even till the budget in October. But as I say, my understanding is, according to rumours around the Treasury, and well-placed people around that department, is that they haven't even begun looking at that broader deficit number. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty flat delivery. Obviously, he's not feeling great. He was lucky to finish it. But again, nothing that we didn't know, as Jim Chalmers points out there. And I think the speech last week and this week, it didn't add a great deal today on what he said last week. The most interesting numbers from my perspective were the impact in terms of the recovery phase, the easing of restrictions, where he talks about the steps 1, 2 and 3 of the easing will add $9.4 billion in terms of GDP per month. Opening schools alone, Ashley, will contribute $2.2 billion. So you can see why the Prime Minister's been so keen to turn that key, as he puts it, the key, the catalyst to opening up the economy is getting those schools back to classrooms and face-to-face teaching, Ash.
Yeah, look, I think you're right, Kieran, watching Josh Frydenberg struggle through that speech. I think we all felt for him. The pain of trying to get the words out when you're live being broadcast around the country, we've all felt that pain, and it's not a good feeling. He got his way through it. But, you know, Jim Chalmers couldn't resist, I noticed in his speech, referring to Josh Frydenberg needing to cough up the numbers, which he didn't do. But Andrew Clennell, it wasn't a budget night speech, and it probably was never going to be.
Well, yeah, but it's, I mean, just to take up Kieran's point, it's 6 weeks until the end of the financial year. Can Josh Frydenberg not give us a deficit number or a likely deficit number? I mean, Kieran says they haven't asked Treasury to provide that advice. Maybe that's quite deliberately. You know, they want to keep that deficit number, as I understand it, till October. And, you know, when we're talking about the end of June being the end of the financial year, I just don't think that's good enough. So, as I understand it, Frydenberg gave this update because the opposition wanted it. You know, he should have given us a fair bit more.